We've heard it said that God's word is a living word, but what does that mean? It could mean a number of things, but I think it means that whatever we walk through in life, there is something in there that speaks to us. Even the same verse at different points in our lives can speak to us in very different ways. It lives and it breathes as we live and we breathe. One of the books that I think exemplifies this idea is the book of Psalms. In fact, it was meant to exemplify this idea. The book of Psalms is a collection of writings from many authors. We often call them songs, but they are more than that. There are songs, yes, but there are also meditations and prayers and acts of worship. This book was designed for worship. It was designed to be read and read again, sung and sung again, prayed and prayed again. It was designed for times of rejoicing and praise. It was designed for times of sorrow, even anger. In short, the Psalms were designed for everyday life. Or maybe a better way to put it, they were designed for any day life. And that includes today, right now. These writings are as alive today as they were when they were written thousands of years ago. So we're going to look at some of these Psalms over the next 5 weeks, and we're going to see how even just 5 of them have something very valuable to tell us still today. The first one that we're going to focus on is definitely one of the more famous Psalms, maybe even the most famous one. It made an appearance in the movie Titanic. Artists from Pink Floyd to the Grateful Dead to Coolio have borrowed lines from it. You've probably heard it read at funerals. You may even think it's supposed to be read at funerals. Hint, it's more than that, and we'll find that out soon. In one way or another, I'm sure you are familiar with the words of Psalm 23. But often with familiarity and repetition, we start to lose the meaning, the heart of what we read and hear. And we don't want that because this psalm has so much to tell us. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take it slowly. We're going to read a handful of lines, and then we're going to pause and digest what it's telling us. And I think by the end of this, we're going to see that this psalm really should be a daily reminder for us. So let's start reading the 23rd Psalm, beginning with the first 3 verses. The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures, he leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. You know, in 2011, the Muppets released a new movie, and the opening song to that movie was called Life's a Happy Song. And one of the refrains in that song went, I've got everything that I need. And I can't help but hear that in my head. I don't know what it means that I have Muppet songs playing in my head as I read these opening few verses. I lack nothing. I've got everything that I need. But before that, the psalmist sets up an important image. The Lord is my shepherd. And that first statement is extremely important as we move through this psalm. We need the frame of mind that we are sheep and the Lord is our shepherd. It might even help to think of this psalm as narrated by a sheep so that you can get all of the imagery that it's meant to evoke. For example, as humans, green pastures and quiet or still waters are relaxing and beautiful. We would enjoy passing time in a place like that. But if we continue with that idea of sheep, this setting becomes more than pretty. It's life-giving. Green pastures represent fertile ground that give us food to live. It's safe ground. We don't have to worry about rough terrain. It's easier to guard against predators. Quiet or still waters is perhaps better understood by a gently flowing stream. The waters aren't so rough that they're dangerous, and they're not so stagnant that they are dirty. In other words, it's a perfect place for a shepherd to lead his flock, to feed and water them. And so the Lord guides us as his flock, as his sheep, along all of the right paths to the place where we have all that we need. Let's take another step in Psalm 23 as we read the 4th verse. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil. For you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. This is the part that we probably know and we hear in all of those places that borrow from this psalm. We're used to seeing it, though, translated with the valley of the shadow of death, rather than with the darkest valley. But I want to explain something there. The Hebrew word used for shadow of death means a death-like shadow, a deep, dark shadow. It's not really talking about our time of death. It's talking about a time of struggle, a time of difficulty. What we should really picture here is a dark ravine, steep cliffs, ominous cliffs on both sides. It's filled with uninviting shrubbery, trees, dense brush. It has plenty of hiding place for predators. And so for sheep, not only is this treacherous terrain, it represents mortal danger. It's not an inviting place. And that's where the rod and the staff come in. The rod is this club that is worn along the belt, and the staff was a walking stick that could also be used to guide sheep. It could double as a weapon to beat back predators. Sheep could fear no evil walking through the most uninviting places, knowing that their shepherd was there to guide and to protect them. And as sheep of the Good Shepherd, what do we really have to fear walking through our darkest valleys if we truly know that our shepherd guides and protects us as well? Now, as we move into the second half of this psalm, it seems like we depart from the shepherd imagery. But I want to show you how we can miss some important things if we don't continue to think of that shepherd and his sheep. And so let's read the 5th verse. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention David at some point this morning, because David is the author of this psalm. And David's head was anointed with oil as God chose him to become Israel's king. David is looking back on his life, and he is recounting all of the blessings that he has received from God. So there is a human aspect to these words that we really can't ignore. God prepares that table for us like he prepared it for David. God has chosen us like he chose David. God blesses us like he blessed David. But David wasn't a king all of his life. He started as a shepherd. So he knows things about sheep and about shepherding that we just don't. There's something called tableland. And while tableland can occur naturally, more often the shepherd had to clear out land of poisonous plants and dangerous animals. And this act established the land, the table, for grazing and for keeping. And so the shepherd, in caring for his sheep, had to prepare tableland in full view of any possible enemies. Outside of the safety of the tableland, there's danger. Inside the area the shepherd prepares, there is safety. Also, while caring for his sheep, oil was very valuable to a shepherd. Pouring oil on the sheep's head would keep pests and bugs away from the sheep, and these are more than just annoying little gnats. They're bugs that can actually travel up the sheep's nose, lay eggs, cause infection, irritation, even brain disease. Us coming to our shepherd and allowing him to cover us keeps all of those annoying and troubling things in our lives from festering inside of us. Oil also protected the sheep when they fought with other sheep. We know that sheep like to butt heads to assert dominance in the herd. Oil allowed those strikes to land more softly and even to glance off without doing much harm. It's a good thing we aren't sheep, right? It's a good thing we don't butt heads with other sheep. But if we ever did, allowing our shepherd to cover us allows us to disagree with grace without hurting one another in the process. Oil also acted as a healing agent. Sheep are, of course, outdoor animals. There are always things in the outdoors that will jab and barb and cut and bite. Pouring oil over a wound helped to clean it and helped with the healing process. Us coming to our shepherd and allowing him to cover us renews and restores us from the times when our lives, when our world has also jabbed and cut and wounded us. That cup running over, it absolutely tells us of the never-ending and abundant love and blessings that our God pours out on us. But it also tells us of the care and the grace and the restoration of our shepherd that he can provide. Our shepherd has so much oil to offer us that his cup is literally overflowing. It cannot contain it all. We just need to come to our shepherd, to graze in that tableland that he has prepared, and allow him to cover us. And finally, we end with the 6th verse. Surely your goodness and your love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. I'm not going to give you anything fancy here. I'm just going to give you this verse straight up. Because as we look back and as we reflect on all that it means for us to have a good shepherd, as we look back on all of the ways that Psalm 23 tells us that he cares for us and he guides us and he protects us, how can we think anything else but the fact that the goodness and love of our shepherd will follow us for as long as we graze on this earth? And after our grazing is finished, we will go back to live in the house of our shepherd forevermore. Psalm 23 is not just for funerals. Psalm 23 is not a psalm that we should hear in a movie and think, oh, that was nice of them to include that. Psalm 23 is a constant reminder of our need to be guided, our need to be protected, our need to be cared for. It's a reminder of the dangerous and fearful things that we walk through. It's a reminder of everything that can do us harm. And it's meant to be a constant reminder that we have a good shepherd who has prepared a place for us to keep us in his care. He has the abundant power to heal and restore and protect us. He will guide us down every right path in the face of all the wrong paths around us. Psalm 23 is praise for our shepherd. This is indeed a psalm that we don't just need today. It's a psalm that we need every day. And all of God's people said,